where they live, what school they go to, or what grade they're in, every student gets into the typical school routine. They go to school, go to their different classes, have hour-long lectures, go home, do some homework, and then get up the next morning and do it all over again. Now, they do this for about 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the subject and the length of the unit, and then they take a test on all the material that's been covered. Let's say that a hypothetical kid at one of these hypothetical schools gets a 90 on their test. That's pretty good. They got an A. Their parents are happy, their friends are jealous, and the kid is happy for about 1 day until the next unit begins and the whole cycle starts over again. But for the few kids at the top of an arbitrary list, that 90 is the beginning of an end. That 90 drops their grade enough that they work themselves to the bone the next unit to get that elusive 100 to bring their grade back up. This is the world that we live in. This is the vicious cycle that keeps kids up late into the night, studying hard for a grade that won't change much. This is the cycle that holds kids back from doing something that they love, or even taking one regular class, because it'll drop their GPA, and then they won't get into a good enough college, and then their entire future will fall apart, and everything will be a downward spiral of fast food meals and long hours and 3 jobs just to pay for a crappy apartment on the wrong side of town. Right? Doesn't getting a 90 on a test ruin a kid's entire future? No, it doesn't. But the school systems that we employ today cause students to believe that everything they do is all for the perfect life that their parents dreamed about for them. But these systems actually cause everything to fall apart. The problem with schools nowadays isn't the teaching or the lack of funding. It all comes down to 2 simple concepts: GPA and class rank. GPA, or grade point average, is a completely arbitrary system meant to calculate a student's academic worth, but really has little to do with a student's actual measure of knowledge and intelligence, and more to do with self-determination, perseverance, and knowledge of how to work the system. A study done by Angela L. Duckworth and Martin E.P. Seligman in 2005 found that the correlation between GPA and self-discipline was 67%, more than twice the amount of correlation between GPA and intelligence, which was about 32%. Not only that, but the part of the brain associated with self-discipline doesn't even fully develop until around the age of 25. So not only does GPA not represent true academic achievement, it actually reflects a skill that students can't even fully master for another decade. And it doesn't even represent that as long as you know how to work the system. When my older sister went through high school, she took creative writing and theater because she wanted to, and because she was interested in those things. She graduated 10th in her class of around 540, and yet she did blame, and still blames, my parents for allowing her to take classes without the extra bump points that would have increased her GPA. By the time I got to high school, my older siblings had already planned everything out for me. I've known what classes I would be taking in high school since I was 11, even before middle school. Because what a high GPA really means is maximizing the amount of AP, pre-AP, and honors classes that you take, not how well you do in them. Now, I was really shocked when I learned that some of my really smart friends were taking regular classes because they didn't want to have to deal with the enormous amounts of work that rigorous classes assign. I was shocked because, having 2 older siblings, I know that to even have a shot at valedictorian, regular classes were out of the question. And anyone who knows this can easily find ways to cheat the system. For instance, taking easier AP classes for the bump points and not taking classes that seem fun or interesting or that you're passionate about, because those classes don't help your GPA. In fact, the entire system of ranking kids based on GPA is a toxic system that pits kids against one another and turns academics into a noxious, competitive sport that changes how kids view the concept of academic integrity. Because of class rank, students who care enough to let themselves fall into the vicious cult of GPA will do anything to get a leg up on the person ahead of them. The importance of academic integrity falls far below the importance of getting the right grade, the right rank, the perfect GPA. In the past, the students who cheated their way through high school were the ones who were struggling to get by. Nowadays, the stigma of cheating has fallen drastically as more and more top students use cheating as a way to get the slightest increase in GPA. In the 1940s, about 20% of college students admitted to cheating in high school. In modern times, between 75 and 98% of college students each year admitted to cheating in high school. Studies have shown that the main reason for cheating is because of the intense pressure to get a good grade. Cheating can even begin as early as preschool, when kids break rules to win competitive games. Academic cheating usually sets in around middle school. According to a recent study of middle schoolers, 2/3 admitted to cheating on exams, while 9/10 admitted to copying someone else's homework. In 1998, 80% of the country's top students admitted to cheating to get to the top of their class. And more than half of them reported that they didn't even think cheating was that big of a deal. Kids feel the pressure to get better grades in order to cinch that extra 100th of a GPA point, or to move up one place in their class rank. This unhealthy system destroys the morals and integrity of kids in schools across the country. Now, besides that, there's a much bigger problem with the practice of ranking kids against one another. Every teacher, principal, board member, or anyone else in any way related to the education of children has to ask themselves a simple question. Is the purpose of school to develop or select the talent of children? Class rank is a system that falls neatly under the select talent category. It chooses the student that is the best of the best, typically by only a fraction of a GPA point. Now, the best way to maximize differences between students is by poor teaching. Now, it seems crazy. Well, in order to rank kids based on a point system, you have to be able to find enough differences in the points to declare a winner. And the best way to maximize the differences is by teaching kids as poorly as possible. Because if kids aren't taught much, and what they are taught is vague and incomplete and meaningless, most kids won't learn. Most kids need the guidance of a teacher to help them fulfill their potential. A few kids are either intelligent enough or hardworking enough to not really need a teacher. For those kids, a teacher is like a decorative lamp. It has its uses, but most of the time it's kind of just there. For those kids, they don't need a teacher. They get by on their own natural talent anyway, so the skill of the teacher doesn't matter. But those kids are a fraction of the entire student population. What it really turns into is giving 5 or 6 kids a leg up to get into the best colleges and giving the rest of the kids a terrible education. And even those 5 or 6 kids would benefit from better teaching. So if the purpose of school is to select talent, then by all means, keep class rank. Continue a system that pits a small bunch of equally intelligent kids against each other and gives the rest of the kids a terrible education. But if you decide that the purpose of school is to develop talent, then do that. Take the time to teach every kid the way they need to be taught. Give every kid the understanding that they deserve. The purpose of education is to teach, not turn academics into a bidding war for colleges. So let's do that. Let's turn our backs on the arbitrary systems of selecting talent and instead use our skills to develop talent. Because being human means deserving of a full education. Thank you.